Hey guys, in this video I want to cover the part components specifically. So basically what I'm going to cover is how this is all set up and working and kind of what their uses are. So you can see here I have my firearm and I have a bunch of part components added to it. So what do they do? What's the purpose? And why/how would you use them? So to kind of sum it up, part components are like the container for attachments. So this sight right here, you can see it has possible parts. This sight can be the hollow sight, 30mm mount, 30mm mount railed, or the thermal sight. It basically allows for any of these four attachments on this component. So you can easily switch between them to use them. So as you can see here, when I click on my sight, for the example firearm customizer, I can easily switch between those specific attachments or nothing, and no more different attachments. So you can't add a stock to here or anything like that. The system won't allow that. So it allows for compatibility. So attachments work kind of like in a chain. So what I described in the first video was with the muzzle. So here we have our barrel. That's its own class. And inside the barrel, we have another part component, which is called muzzle. And inside of that, our flash hider, we have another one with a part component, which would be the suppressor. So we have a suppressor attached to it. So everything links down in a chain, and ultimately our muzzle would end up being considered that suppressor. So that allows for things like is suppressed and all that on the firearm. Those functions return true if you have a suppressor, even though it is linked through a couple different things down the chain. Now, this is where you control a lot of your settings and customization for each section or each part, so to speak. So for example, the minimum and maximum. That is for how far you can move and slide your part down the rail. So I'm limited to sliding it here, which is 10 centimeters, and I'm kind of stuck to that range. And then you can control a couple different other things, which I'll go in more in depth later. So why do we use the part components? So the part components acts kind of like like I said, it acts as a container. So that allows you to do things like easily add and remove parts strictly through the part container, handle part compatibility, setting default parts. So that way you can see when I press play, I have just a complete firearm with a suppressor and all that kind of stuff here. And really just kind of have all that. And is also what makes it convenient. So that way you can do things like I'll remove the muzzle device, I'll slide this sight forward, and I'll replace it with this 30mm mount. And I'll just give myself a stubby grip. So I can just do example and I'll save it. I'll close it and I'll hit play again. It allows for easy loading. So I can load this guy up and I now have the same setup of what I just had. So it makes things like that easy. And same thing goes for replication. So that way you can kind of think of the part component kind of like the parent of the part. It controls what it can do, what all can go in it, and all that kind of stuff. So that's really its general use. So there's not really a whole lot else to add there. It also adds for things like quick previewing. So I can display the part min max, which would be these guys right here. So I'm at 0. I can drag it up and see where I want it to be. So let's say I like it all the way. I want to be able to have my sight all the way out to here. So let's do 25. So I know that my maximum would need to be 25. And from there, I know that I'm good to go. So now when I try to drag my sight, I have it all the way up here, like so. And you can see it snapped all the way up there because I have set part initial offset as a display min max. If I uncheck that, the sight will be at 0. So it also controls how you handle the initial spawning of it. Then we have the other things like the snap distance, which I'll go into more in depth with in another video when I come through the settings. But this is kind of like where you have all the control. So if we go ahead and look at something like the sight right here, you can see, let me go over to it. We have all of its own information on it. Speaking of, where is it all? There it is. So we have all the information for the reticle, the camera settings, the customization, and all that stuff. All right here on the site. It's kept away from the part component. So let's see, I had that back at like 10. So that's kind of the gist of the part component. and why it's used. You don't have to use the part component with a firearm. This system can actually work with really any actor that you have. You just got to add it, and everything will still kind of function in the same manner. So if you can come up with another use for it, then kudos. Feel free to use it. But that was kind of like the idea behind the part component and its intended use. So that's going to wrap up this video. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to join my Discord and I'll answer them whenever you have them. And if you are interested, the link to this plugin will be linked below. So I'll see you in the next video.